I answered the knock because it didn't sound scary. That's the truth. It wasn't loud or angry. It wasn't the kind of pounding that makes your heart jump. It was soft, careful, like whoever was on the other side didn't want anyone else to hear it. I was already in bed. The room was dark except for the little blue light from my phone charger. My fan was running, pushing warm air around. I remember thinking I'd finally fall asleep early for once. Then the knock came again, 3 taps, pause, 2 taps. I sat up and listened. For a second, I thought it came from inside the apartment, like a pipe, or the wall settling. But then it came again, in the same pattern, and I knew it was the door. I checked the time, 2:13 a.m. My first thought was my neighbor. Maybe he locked himself out again. It had happened once before. He'd knocked on my door in his socks, embarrassed, asking if I had the building manager's number. So I got up. I didn't turn on the lights. I just walked to the door in my bare feet, the carpet cold under my toes. I looked through the peephole. No one. The hallway light was on like always, that yellow, tired light. I could see the opposite wall, the framed no smoking sign, the little brown scuff marks on the paint. But no face, no shadow, no movement. I leaned closer. Still nothing. My brain tried to make sense of it. Maybe someone stood off to the side. Maybe they were being polite. Maybe they didn't want to be seen by the peephole. The knocks came again. 3 taps. Pause. 2 taps. Now my heart beat a little faster. I didn't speak at first. I just stood there, staring at the peephole like it might suddenly show me something. Finally, I said, "Who is it?" My voice sounded too loud in the quiet apartment. No answer. I waited a few seconds, then asked again. "Hello?" Nothing. Then very softly I heard something. Not a voice exactly, more like breathing, or a small movement close to the door. I told myself it was my imagination. I looked at the lock. It was dead-bolted. The chain was on. I should have gone back to bed right then. I should have told myself it wasn't my problem. I should have called the non-emergency line or the building manager, but I didn't. Because the knocking sounded human, and because it was late, and because my brain decided there was probably a normal reason for it. I unlatched the chain first, but left the deadbolt on. I cracked the door just a little, like an inch, enough to speak through. The hallway air was cooler than my apartment. It smelled faintly like laundry detergent and old carpet. I looked left, I looked right. No one. I pulled the door open a little more, still keeping the deadbolt on. The hallway was empty, quiet, no footsteps, no elevator ding, nothing. I felt stupid, like I'd fallen for a prank. Then I saw something on the floor. Right in front of my door, centered like someone placed it carefully, was a plain white envelope. No stamp, no address, no name, just an envelope. My stomach tightened. I stared at it for a few seconds, trying to decide if it had been there before. I was pretty sure it hadn't. I would have noticed an envelope sitting right at my doorstep. I looked up and down the hallway again, still empty. I bent down and picked it up fast, like I was grabbing something off a hot stove. Then I shut the door and locked everything again. Back inside, I stood in the kitchen with the envelope in my hand, like it was something alive. My first thought was, don't open it. My second thought was, if I don't open it, I'll think about it all night. So I opened it. Inside was one piece of folded paper. No fancy design, no letterhead, just printer paper. I unfolded it. There was one line typed in plain black ink. "I'm sorry to do this so late." That was it. No signature, no explanation. My mouth went dry. I read it again. Then I looked at the back of the paper, like maybe the rest of the message was there. Blank. I stared at the paper so long my eyes started to water. Then I did the dumb thing. I went back to the door and looked through the peephole again. Still. I stood there for another minute, listening. No knocking, no footsteps, no voices. Just the faint hum of the building. I told myself it was some kind of mistake, a wrong door, a weird neighbor, a teenager prank, anything. But the message felt personal, like it was meant for me. And that's what got under my skin. Because how could it be meant for me if there was no name? I tried to laugh it off. I even said out loud, "Okay, that's creepy." But my voice sounded shaky. I threw the paper back in the envelope and set it on my counter like it was evidence. Then I went back to my room and sat on my bed. My phone was on the nightstand. I picked it up and checked my notifications. Nothing. No missed calls, no texts. I thought about calling someone, but who do you call at 2:15 in the morning to say, "An envelope showed up and it's weird"? So I just sat there, listening to every sound. The fan, the fridge cycling, a car passing outside. A few minutes later, I started to calm down. My body did that thing it does where it tries to protect you by acting normal again. I lay back down. I even closed my eyes, then my phone buzzed. One notification. Unknown number. A text message. It said, "Did you get it?" My whole body went cold. I stared at the screen, waiting for my brain to tell me it was spam, like one of those weird scam texts that say, "Hey, are you home?" But it didn't feel like spam, not at 2:16 a.m., not right after the envelope. I didn't reply. I sat up and held the phone with both hands like I might drop it. The number had a local area code. That made it worse. My thumb hovered over the call button, but I didn't press it. I didn't want to hear someone's voice. I wanted it to be a mistake. Another buzz, another text. I didn't want you to see it on camera. My eyes snapped to the corner of my living room, where my little security camera sat on a shelf. It was a cheap one I bought after my car got broken into last year. It faced the front door from inside the apartment. Mostly for peace of mind. Mostly so I could check things if I was away. My stomach dropped. I opened the camera app. The live feed showed my front door and part of the hallway through the peephole angle. The timestamp glowed in the corner. Everything looked normal. But when I clicked the clip history, there was a gap, a missing section. It jumped from 2:08 a.m. to 2:20 a.m. like nothing had happened in between. No motion alerts, no recording, just missing time. I felt a hot wave of panic rise in my chest, because I knew what that meant. Someone had been inside my camera system. Someone had paused it, and they texted me about it like it was normal. Another buzz. Please don't call anyone. I didn't even realize I was shaking until I noticed my phone rattling softly against my fingers. I looked at the envelope on the kitchen counter like it might explain itself if I stared hard enough. Then, from the other side of my front door, came the same soft knocking again. 3 taps. Pause. 2 taps. Only this time it wasn't coming from the hallway, it was coming from the inside of the door, like someone was tapping on it from my side. I didn't open the door. I don't know why that mattered in the moment, but it felt important, like if I stayed perfectly still, the situation might reset itself, like a glitch that only exists if you move. The knocking came again. 3 taps. Pause. 2 taps. My eyes locked on the door handle. I was waiting to see it turn on its own, waiting for something to happen that would prove I wasn't imagining this. Nothing did. My phone buzzed in my hand. Another text from the same unknown number. You don't have to open it. I swallowed hard. The sound of the fan in my bedroom felt too loud now. The apartment felt smaller, like the walls had leaned in while I wasn't paying attention. I typed back before I could stop myself. Who is this? The 3 dots appeared almost instantly, then disappeared, then appeared again. My heart started racing. I held my breath without meaning to. The reply came, "You already met me." I stared at the words until they blurred. "That's not possible," I whispered, even though I knew no one could hear me. Another knock. This one was different. Closer, not louder, just heavier. Like the knuckles were resting against the wood instead of pulling away. I backed up until my calves hit the edge of the couch. I didn't sit. I didn't look away from the door. My phone buzzed again. "Check your camera." I didn't want to. Every part of me knew that whatever I saw wouldn't help. It would only make things worse. But I opened the app anyway. The live feed loaded. My front door filled the screen, the inside view, just like before. The angle was slightly tilted, showing the door frame and a strip of the hallway carpet beyond the threshold. Everything looked normal. Then I noticed something small. The timestamp. It said 2:47 a.m. I looked at the clock on my microwave. 2:51 a.m. The feed was 4 minutes behind. My chest tightened. I tapped refresh. The image stuttered, froze, then updated. Now the timestamp matched. But something else had changed. There was a shadow on the bottom edge of the door, thin, curved, like the outline of a shoe. On my side of the door. I dropped the phone. It hit the carpet with a dull thud, but I didn't bend down to pick it up. I couldn't take my eyes off the door. The shadow didn't move. The knocking stopped. For a few seconds, everything was quiet. Then I heard a sound I couldn't place at first. A soft scrape, like fabric brushing against wood, slow, deliberate. I realized what it was and my stomach twisted. Something was leaning against the door, from inside. My phone buzzed again on the floor. I forced myself to pick it up. A new message waited. "You locked it after." My fingers went numb. "After what?" I typed. The reply came slower this time. "After I knocked." I shook my head. "No," I said out loud. "You weren't inside." Another scrape, closer to the handle. My brain tried to put pieces together, but none of them fit. I kept thinking about the missing camera footage, the envelope, the fact that whoever this was knew about my camera before I checked it, knew about the lock, knew where they were standing. I typed again, "How did you get in?" There was a long pause. So long I wondered if the messages were done. Then, "You let me in when you opened the door." My throat tightened. "I didn't," I whispered, but as soon as I said it, a memory surfaced. Small. Easy to miss. The moment I cracked the door. The rush of cooler air. The second I looked down at the envelope instead of straight ahead. The moment I told myself the hallway was empty. I felt sick. The knocking started again, but this time it wasn't on the door, it was on the wall. Behind me, 3 taps, pause, 2 taps. I spun around so fast my foot slipped on the carpet. The wall behind the couch was bare, just off-white paint and a framed photo I'd never bothered to hang straight. Another knock. This one came from closer, from the hallway that led to my bedroom. My phone buzzed. "I don't like when you ignore me." I backed toward the kitchen, my eyes darting between the hallway and the door. Every shadow felt wrong. Every corner felt occupied. "Get out," I said, my voice cracking. "You need to leave." The reply came instantly. "You asked me to come in." "I didn't," I said again, louder this time. "I never said that." Another message. "You opened the door." Something shifted in the hallway. I saw it this time. A shape where the darkness was thicker. Like the air itself was bending around something tall and narrow. It didn't step forward. It didn't rush me. It just stood there, watching. My phone vibrated again. Do you remember what you said?" My heart pounded so hard it hurt. "No," I whispered. The typing dots appeared, then stopped. Then a new message came through. You said, "Hello." The word echoed in my head, "Hello." That was it, that was all. I had said it through the cracked door, quiet, careless, automatic. "Hello." The lights flickered, just once. When they came back on, the hallway was empty. I stood there shaking, listening for footsteps, breathing. Anything. Nothing. My phone buzzed one last time, "Thank you for answering." Then the conversation ended. The number disappeared from my message history like it had never existed. I stood, frozen, for a long time. I don't know how long. Long enough for the adrenaline to drain out of me, leaving me cold and exhausted. Eventually, I locked myself in the bathroom with the light on and waited for morning. I didn't sleep. When the sun finally came up, everything looked normal again. Too normal. Like the apartment was trying to convince me nothing had happened. I checked the camera footage again. There was a new clip, timestamped 2:13 a.m. It showed my front door from inside, the door opening. Me standing there, looking down. And behind me, in the reflection of the darkened TV screen, someone standing in my hallway, already inside. I didn't watch the clip again, I couldn't. The first few seconds were enough. The door opening, me standing there, and the shape behind me that didn't move like a shadow should. I shut the app and slid my phone face down across the counter like it might burn me. Morning light filled the apartment, but it didn't help. The sunlight only made everything feel exposed, like the night had peeled something open and left it that way. I checked every room, closets, cabinets, behind the shower curtain, under the bed, nothing. No signs of a break-in, no open windows, no footprints, no damage. Just my apartment. Exactly how I'd left it. I tried to convince myself I was tired, that I'd scared myself half awake and my brain filled in the rest. I even laughed once, short and shaky, like that might reset things. It didn't. I couldn't stop thinking about the words. You opened the door. I replayed that moment in my head over and over. The crack of the door, the envelope, the hallway light. The second my attention dropped, I wondered how long they'd been there. I went to work anyway. I didn't tell anyone what happened. I smiled when people talked to me. I nodded. I answered emails. I pretended my hands weren't still shaking. Around noon, my phone buzzed. A notification from the camera app. Motion detected. I stared at the screen. I was at work. No one should have been in my apartment. I opened the app. The live feed showed my living room, empty, couch, coffee table, the wall behind it, normal. But the alert timestamp said the motion happened 10 minutes ago. I scrolled to the clip. It was only 12 seconds long. The camera showed the living room like always. Then, something changed. Not movement, presence. The air in the hallway darkened slightly, like the light dimmed around a shape. No clear body, no face. Just a place where the room felt fuller. Then the clip ended. I locked my phone and stood up from my desk so fast my chair scraped the floor. I told my boss I wasn't feeling well and left early. On the drive home, I kept checking my mirrors. I don't know what I expected to see, but every car felt like it was following too close. Every red light felt like a trap. When I got home, I didn't go inside right away. I stood in the parking lot and stared at my door from a distance. Nothing looked different. I finally went in. The apartment smelled the same, sounded the same, felt the same. But I didn't feel alone. I unplugged the camera first, yanked the cord straight out of the wall. The light went dark. I felt a small sense of relief, like I'd cut a wire to something watching me. Then my phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. You don't need that anymore. My hands went cold. I typed back without thinking. Leave me alone. The reply came slower this time. I am. I waited. Nothing else came. That night, I slept with the lights on. Every light, kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, living room. I didn't hear any knocks. I didn't hear any footsteps. But I dreamed. In the dream, I was standing at my front door, looking through the peephole. The hallway was empty. Then something knocked, 3 taps, pause, 2 taps. In the dream, I didn't hesitate, I didn't think. I opened the door wide. The hallway was still empty. But when I turned around, the apartment was full. Not with people, with space being used wrong. Corners that went deeper than they should. Walls that bent inward. Doors that led somewhere else. And in the middle of it all, something stood very still, watching me wake up. I woke with a sharp gasp, my heart pounding. Morning again. I started packing that day. I didn't finish my lease. I didn't care. I called the landlord, said there was an emergency. I didn't explain. I paid the penalty. While I packed, I kept the door open. I don't know why. It just felt safer to see the hallway. Nothing knocked. Nothing texted, nothing moved. By evening, my apartment was bare. As I carried the last box out, I hesitated in the doorway. I don't know what I expected. A message, a sound, a sign. There was nothing. I locked the door for the last time and walked away. I stayed with a friend for a while, and then another. Then I found a new place across town. Different building, different floor, different locks. I don't answer late-night knocks anymore, ever. I don't even get up. A few weeks later, I checked my old camera app one last time. The device was listed as offline, but there was one final clip saved to the cloud. No timestamp, no motion tag, just a file name. Answered. I didn't open it. I deleted the app. I changed my number. I moved on, mostly. Sometimes, late at night, I hear a sound that reminds me of tapping. Not knocking, just fingers brushing against wood. And every time I think about how easy it was. Not to invite something in, just to answer.